Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is somebody I actually just went to the World Series with. That's right, the COVID 2020 World Series was freaking crazy. It was socially distanced, one-fourth capacity. Uh, Everyone was supposed to be wearing masks, but it was Texas, so I'm sure you could picture how that went. But yeah, it was a once in a lifetime experience because it was the first time and probably the only time the World Series was held at a neutral location. So the entire NLCS, which is the National League Championship Series, which unfortunately the Braves lost in, uh, and the World Series were all in Dallas. So his name is Kris Dehnert. He's the founder of a company called Dugout Mugs. They literally sell baseball bats that are turned into beer mugs. At least that's their top seller. They have some other cool products they've been launching as well that are doing well. You got to get that uh, lifetime value of a customer higher. So I got to sell more than one product if you can. But I have multiple of these mugs. They're really cool. They're great gifts. Uh, Kris is a great guy. Uh, Very humble. Just I feel like we vibe in many ways. So I obviously enjoyed getting to go to the World Series with him, and I enjoyed our conversation on this episode. So and like always, definitely share with friends if you enjoy these convos. Rate 5 stars on iTunes and leave a comment. I'd be super grateful for that. Enjoy the conversation.
This is Openly Outspoken with Jeremy Adams, where differing opinions are not only accepted, they're encouraged.
All right, Kris, we are live. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, bro.
So we were just talking about some baseball cards. You have some goods to bring up right now.
Yeah, so obviously with what I do, I'm all in and around the space quite a bit, and because let's really talk about what happened. So I hired an organizer to come to my house and just purge all the just shit. Like, I'm tired of it, right? And they dug up these two old big Tupperwares full of baseball cards that my mom had in her attic that she was getting. She's like, get this stuff out of here. And I just went to flipping through them, and like the box that you open and it's still got all the dust in it, and I'm sneezing and going through. Well, I found 5 Derek Jeter rookie cards, like at the bottom of a shoebox, and one of them was like the gold parallel. It's like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It's just sideways in a shoebox. And because back in the day in '92, the last time I probably looked at these cards, he wasn't anybody. You didn't know he's going to grow up to, be one of the best Yankees that's ever lived. So I found 5 of those. I probably got, you're a Braves guy, so I got like 10 Chipper Jones rookie cards.
Damn, 10. So can you
They're
explain
like
for?
Jim Tomei, like
Oh
this one.
wow, old Jim
I mean,
Tomei.
but it reminds me a lot of when I was little, but I mean, it's still $5 here and $10 there. I found a Cody Bellinger rookie. That was more recent, obviously, but I was 50, found a couple $200 cards. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun, to the point where I've even doubled down, and now I got some stuff coming up with a couple card companies that I'm collaborating with.
Yeah. What this collectible card craze is pretty crazy that's going on. I don't know if people that are listening follow this, but baseball cards and a lot of sports collectible cards are just really, really popping right now.
Crazy.
Just a lot of baseball and basketball, but also Pokemon cards. What the heck's going
Yeah.
on with all this stuff? Do you know why it's getting
Nope.
so popular?
Uh, No, but I do know that Gary Vee was talking about it a few years ago, and I was listening to him. I'm like, man, he's got a pretty good beat on it. I think he's on to something, because I was going to get rid of all my cards, right? And he would start talking about it. So let me see if he's right again, with this thing coming down the pipe. And then Brandon Steiner, who's a colleague, relaunched the Collectible Exchange, which is one of his new ventures, which is super cool. And I saw it kind of coming, and the people that are involved in it definitely saw it coming. But yeah, it's all cards, bro. Like I challenge you, go to Walmart or Target and find anything. These 20, 30 foot shelves that are just bare, wrestling cards, stickers. It's stupid. And my wife even told me that, like grown men are going to McDonald's and ordering like 10 and 20 Happy Meals because they're getting Pokemon cards in the Happy Meals or something. I'm like, yo, this is getting out of control. And you know how people are. Like,
Yeah,
good
no,
God.
I fortunately I threw a lot of my crappy Pokemon cards away or whatever I did with them, threw them away slash just left them somewhere. But I do still have all my rares. They're actually in my bedroom next to my bed. It's probably my longest lasting keepsake. I've had it since I started collecting them when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. When did they? Or maybe I guess 98 is when they started getting big. So 8 years old.
I never even knew the game. I don't even know about it. I'm
Uh,
almost 40, so it missed me, right? I was getting into business when these things were heating up, and I'm like, I don't even get that.
yeah,
Now,
Pokemon was the best back in the day, man. I mean, talk about a business. They had the cards, they had the Game Boy games, they had Pokemon Stadium, which was actually ahead of its time. You could plug. There was the adapter that would go into your N64 controller, and you could put your Pokemon roster on your N64 game. Did you play that? Were you in any of that?
I didn't do gaming. I did
What?
business, bro. I did business. I got
Well,
right into it.
Well, I still do gaming, but I still obviously do business. I have for those that don't have video or just listening audio. I'm about to explain what I'm holding up here to Kris. So there's this company called the Highland Mint. They'd maybe be a good
Yeah.
uh, relationship for you. We're going to be doing some stuff with some of our brands, but here is let me see, try to get it. It's a Craig Kimbrell piece of a game used baseball inside a coin.
That's cool.
They have some really cool collectible items from like field like that's where I see so much of the market going is collectible and unique items. They had this one item. It was like elements from Dodger Stadium. It was like a little bit of dirt, a little bit of clay, a little bit of grass. I mean, it was wild. They have all this authentic stuff, and they limit the quantity, and it just makes me want it. So I have a piece of Craig Kimbrell's 42nd saved game, September 1st, 2011, when he pitched for the Braves, and it's in a coin, and it's actually a piece of the baseball. It's pretty wild. So like collectible stuff for everything. There's different sports. There's wrestling, like you're saying. There's Pokemon. I mean, all this shit is like really popular. Did you watch any of those live streams with the Paul brother? He was like opening up Pokemon cards live.
No, no. But I think those live rips. Okay, so that's one of the things I'm doing right now is you'll see with Dugout. So I'm gonna look to do like a rip party where every week everybody, because we're gonna give out thousands of cards, packs of cards, and tell people to get on live, and we're gonna rip them and see who gets the best cards, and just like make it a community, right? I think that's really cool, and I've seen some people do it, and I fell victim, bro. Like I was flipping through something, and I'm not even on social media anymore, like maybe 5% of the time. And I ran across one of these quirky dudes with gloves on and going through baseball cards. No shit, I blew 30 minutes watching him like a kid, and I was like, oh no, this is perfect. So I didn't see it, but I think that's a really cool. And now I understand. Like, remember these kids that are watching other kids open stuff? And I was like, that's ridiculous. And now here I did it myself as a grown ass man. So
Yeah,
I get it.
people were paying for so Pokemon cards were super popular back in the day, like we were discussing. There was a rare portion of the type of cards they were first edition packs. So there's only like an estimated handful of these boxes left of first edition unopened. They're from 1999. People were paying $40,000 for a pack, for a single pack of an unopened pack of first edition Pokemon cards, and they were being opened live. And some of the cards were a couple really rare ones when there that were estimated value like 500,000 for the single card. I mean, it's just insane. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I'm glad I held
So,
on to all my Pokemon
let me ask
cards.
you a question. So, what do you do? Do you sell it, or do you keep it thinking it's going to go up again? What would you do?
I I would probably sell it. I don't have enough confidence. Like I look at the crypto markets as volatile enough, but at least it's a long-term currency. I don't have the same long-term confidence in sports collectibles. I feel like if you look at maybe our parents' age, right? Collectibles, sports cards were super big when they were young. Like my dad had stuff from when he was a kid, but then it died off. It started getting, big here and there, and it was big in communities, but it definitely wasn't mainstream in my opinion for like it
Yeah.
is now. So I don't personally, and again, I'm far from an expert. I personally don't have long-term faith in the trading card market. Maybe I get proven wrong there. Hopefully I do, because then my Pokemon cards will be worth even more. But yeah, if I had a $500,000 card, I would sell it in a heartbeat. What about you?
You buy. I'm married with two kids, man. Like I could use a half million better than I can use a card. Spill a drink or something, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'd move it. Some of the other stuff I'm having fun with, right? So, um, that's another story, 50 or 100, whatever. But if it's something like that, I wouldn't want the pressure keeping the damn thing, honestly.
Yeah, at 500 grand, and again,
So,
this is I'm a noob when it comes to sports card collectibles too, but to be worth that much, it has to, from what I understand, be the highest rank on the quality scale is like a 10 out of 10. Like if it's a 9 out of 10, like which means there's maybe like a slight blemish or crease on the edge or something like that, it's worth a lot more. To be worth top dollar, it has to be a 10 out of 10 from what I
yeah,
understand. So
10
yeah,
PSA or something, whatever the acronym is.
I would sell. It was the most valuable card is a first edition Holo Charizard. It was, I think, estimated 500 grand, maybe even higher. I would sell that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Sell it in a heartbeat. What?
Yeah, there's not too many things I own that aren't for sale, honestly, because a long time ago somebody said something to me, and it's like, use things, collect people, not the other way around, right? So it's like, okay, I mean, really, that's all it is. It's just stuff, right? And when it comes down to it, it either serves you or it doesn't. If it doesn't really have the ability to serve you, then it shouldn't be cemented. You should be able to move along.
Yeah, I. That actually brings up a good topic of conversation. Do you? Because I've been transitioning to my own form of minimalism over the last few years. I got rid of my car. I feel like I live in a skyrise apartment. It's a nice place, downtown Orlando, but it's not super fancy. I don't have a ton of belongings. Would you consider yourself minimalist in that sense? Like, do you like having a lot of stuff, or you would rather not?
I'd rather not. I like the idea of if you haven't touched it in 6 months or used it in a year, something like that. Just see ya, because otherwise it's just taking up space, and I believe that people think they own things, but it's quite the opposite. These things own the people, and it kind of like locks you in. You have to buy new stuff to just store the stuff you already own, right? That really doesn't serve you. So I think I have the mindset more of a minimalist, but obviously I'm not. I mean, I live comfortably, right? And I have the things that I want and whatever. But I know some people, they have one set of dishes, four plates, four cups, four knives, four spoons. Like, Brian ain't doing dishes that much, right? So there's a there's a happy medium. Um, but again, like, I'm going through and seeing all this stuff. It's like, I don't need that. I'll never use that. A friend of mine said something that was pretty cool. She said, turn all your hangers backwards, and then every 6 months, every hanger that's not, and when you hang them back up, put it the other way. And then you go through at the end of 6 months, whatever's still backwards, like, well, obviously I don't wear that, so I don't need that, right? It just limits space, and I don't think people really appreciate how much shit they have. Like, move, and you realize really quick how much stuff you have.
Moving is the biggest pain in the ass of all time, and one of the best businesses ever is a moving company, because it is, even with a moving company, moving is a pain in the ass. Like, I don't know if I can think of anything a big of pain in the ass I obviously have a privileged life, so that's a very, American thing to say, and I'll take accountability for that. But moving is the biggest pain, just because it's most pain in the asses last a couple hours or even a day or whatever. I mean, moving is like a multiple week long process in many cases,
Oh,
depending on
years,
what you're moving. Yeah, I mean,
years sometimes.
it's a
There's stuff
disaster.
that you move from one place to another. You never even unpack the box, bro, until you move to the next place.
That's the worst. I need to get rid of some of my clothes though. You got me thinking because my closet's getting pretty full, and I probably wear 15% of it.
Hmm.
Shoes too. I actually have too many shoes. Probably get rid of those. I was watching this minimalist documentary on Netflix, and it was referring that when you have all this extra stuff, because humans are ancient ancestors, and we're kind of figuring out these things and our diet and mental health, and we're kind of just getting clear on what how humans survived for 99% of our existence until the last few hundred years when we've had modern civilization. But another one that they reference in this documentary was we were oftentimes hunter and gatherers and would move from location to location. We didn't have just huge houses worth of shit. So it actually, there is some sort of weird energy drain that all these belongings can put on you. I actually think it's a relief to just get rid of a bunch of stuff, because
Hmm.
that's not, we never had belongings in human history. Have you ever like considered that?
No, it makes sense. I mean, I know because I lived in Hyde Park over in Tampa for a while, and everything you just walk, right. I throw on my book bag and walk around. I didn't have a car for about a year, and I was like, this is great. If I had to go somewhere, just jump in an Uber. I think the all you know that yeah, it's a weight gets lifted. The less stuff you have, is less stuff you have to keep track of. You know.
Yeah. And again, I didn't even maybe I should do a whole episode on minimalism as well, because I actually think it is healthy for us in many ways. I agree, maybe not super extreme, maybe you have more than 4 cups, but
Yeah.
it's pretty wild. So they were saying in the documentary too that so many of us, houses are built as kind of cookie cutter, and we go into these houses to and we adjust to the house rather than the other way around, which it should be, and most productive for us, like physically and energetically, to say what rooms do I need and build the house around your needs, rather than just like, oh, I have this house, let me just fill it with a bunch of junk so I have all this empty space filled. Because they, and then on the documentary as well, they were putting all these heat maps saying like pretty much all people just hang out in a few areas of their house, and it's just a bunch of wasted space.
Hmm. Yeah, that'd be an interesting map to see, like where you spend most of your time.
Yeah, I mean, living room, bedroom, bathroom, like even I feel dining room experiences are just less and less modern time. So let's talk about your company that's all about drinking beer, Dugout Mugs. Would love to just hear what inspired you to start that, because I know you were involved, similar to kind of my life now. You were involved in many businesses in the internet marketing community. What inspired you to start Dugout?
So honestly, I think it all boils down to a pretty rude awakening, right? Like I'm good enough at sales. I'm good enough at marketing. I'm good enough at connecting and networking. Good enough at deal structure, right? And when I say good enough, I'm better than average at those things. And in fact, it became dangerous because it allowed me to say yes and yes and yes and yes to more and more and more and more, and well overcommitted, mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, everything. And to the point where about 6 years ago, I had double knee surgery, bro. Like both my knees operated on the same time. It's a genetic shit I was dealing with. And I think 2 days after a double knee surgery, I took a business meeting. I mean, I probably should be laid up, probably on meds, probably just taking it easy, but it was a business meeting, had to get to it, right? And I was so busy being so busy that I made poor decisions. And I had I was borrowing my buddy's Ferrari because, that's super important. And, those types of, things. And I was like, well, I don't even need my legs. I can just use the paddle shifters and I can get to where I'm going. I can get there fast and get there back, fucking justified it all. And anyway, while I was gone on my way to the meeting, I ruptured my appendix. And I didn't realize, like, it sucked, but I was like, you know what? It's probably just related to the other surgery I just had a few days ago. So I blamed it on that, did the meeting. And then I was like, I probably should go to the hospital and find out what's going on. I said, but I got the Stanley Cup. It was either that night or the next night. And I was like, well, I got to go to the Stanley Cup. Like, I can't not, this crock of shit floating around in my head. Anyway, I got back home, waited about a week before I ended up going to the hospital. And when I did, they're like, dude, you should have been dead a few days ago. Your body's been like, just instead of absorbing all this toxins and killing you, it built a wall around it. So it was the size of a football by the time they found this abscess right inside my core. And it was eye-opening. And I was in and out of consciousness for a few days. They had to do an emergency surgery. There was a 30% chance I wasn't going to make it out of there. Which when you're told that, it makes you change the way you think about some things. And I just had a new daughter. She was just born, never seen her walk, talk, anything like that. So, you're laying there in bed really weighing like what's most important. My wife couldn't come see me because she had the baby and it was the hospital and all shit was going on. So, long story short, you're laying there and you're like, okay, I made a deal with God. I'm like, yo, get me through this. And then just put the right people in my path that the best way to explain it, that deserve my skill set. Right. I've, me with Teespring and the agencies and all the stuff I've done. I've figured out some stuff. And I said, I got a particular set of skills. I'm talented. I need to do fewer things with better people and go deeper, leverage all the things I'm best at, live an experiential kind of life because it can go that quick. And just kind of change my perspective on things and the deals, right? And what it did is it taught me how to say no and quickly, because like all the deals I was in the part of, I'm calling people from the hospital, hey man, this shit ain't gonna work. We're not gonna do business. I don't want you to think I'm not gonna die thinking I like you. Like there were some really tough conversations happening. And anyway, back to square one with it. And I was at the second meeting of board of advisors. I was at BA and talking about some stuff and, getting my feet back underneath me mentally and what I wanted to do. And I got a random phone call and this kid said, hey man, my name's Randall. I want to pick your brain about something. I said, okay, well that's, I'm at a thing. I'm in St. Pete. And he's like, dude, I'm driving through St. Pete right now. I was like, well, that's ironic. So I told him where I was and he pulled into the bar and he brought, actually, I found it before the call. So like he gave me this mug. This is the first one.
Wow.
Out. It's different than the ones you probably have, but he brought this mug. He's like, I want you to walk around with this thing. I was like, well, that is weird, but I'm going to walk around with it and see what people think. And so, it brings me to my answer is what brought me to the deal was me breaking, and him bringing an idea, I think, was kind of divine intervention. The fact that it was the same place at the same time at that exact moment, he had an idea, didn't know what to really do with it. Right. He could have figured it out over time, but it's like, I know exactly what to do with it, where to go, how to scale, what buttons to push and who to call. And I was like, I'll stop all the things that I'm doing because I had a few left. And he had a job and I was like, you quit your job and we'll do this. We'll take this thing to the top. And that was January 1, 2017. And it's been a fucking rocket ship, dude, ever since, which is super fun.
Yeah. Why do you feel that it takes, because I've heard similar stories, maybe not the exact health scenario you had, and obviously glad you're recovered and doing well. We couldn't have went to the World Series this past year if you weren't, so that was good. Why do you think it takes situations similar to what you dealt with to get to the realization that you did?
I think a lot of people think they have more control than they do. There's some a great saying. It's like there's two things you should never worry about: it's shit you can change and the shit you can't. You know what I mean? And I think people think they have a lot of control over what's going on. If there's great things happening to them, it's because they did something right. It's like, well, you know what? Some of that stuff's just not true. And I thought I had a lot of control of my time and this and that. And it's like it almost got snapped away from me. So I shifted to me, I shifted to a place of you're here, you're now, live it now, go big, have fun. So now my metrics on deals have completely changed. Do I like the person? Is it fun? Can I leverage my network? Can I play with my friends? Is it scalable? It's like number 5 or 6, right? So it was a shift for me. It kind of answers your question.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, I think people think too much of it was their doing. Now, I'm not saying go and take an action isn't super important. Like people and just being diligent and being a hard ass, gritty kind of entrepreneur, that works. But I think sometimes we get good enough that we forget how to be grateful for all that we have. That's what happened for me. And it took that coming back down to earth to realize now the most important things to me have completely done a 360, turn me around. So now that I'm building a lifestyle by design based on the most important things, everything else is just winning even more, right? Which is kind of a cool paradox, I guess.
Yeah. You said you're about to be 40.
Yeah, later this year I turn 40.
Oh, well, happy big 40. How
Yeah.
You talked about things that are important to you. How, cuz I'm 30 now. I'm about to be 31. Um how do you feel from when you were 30 compared to where you're going in now? How has your mindset shifted?
Um, it, I used to work with a guy named Russ, and he said something. It's like the warrior versus the statesman, and I understand that transition, right? Like back then, I was out to prove to everybody how good I was, how big I could take something, that I wanted to leave a legacy, all this kind of stuff. And now it's more about I want to leave a legacy with the people that matter the most, right? So that transition, the sooner people get to that, because there's some people that never get there. They're so busy buying shit, bragging and spending money and just going crazy to impress people that just don't matter, right? And it's idiotic. So if one person heard that and changes their ways, good for you. You deserve it. But like that was one of the biggest things. I drive a Tahoe. I could afford more than a Tahoe if I wanted to. That's all I need. That's all I want, right? And just really kind of, where I was then. I'll take a cab to a meeting, dude. Back then, I needed a Ferrari, right? It's a whole shift in mentality. Brandon Steiner, I talked to Brandon one day. I went up in New Rochelle at his office, and we were chatting, and he said something that was pretty cool. He said, "Make the most important things the most important things." He's like looking back at his 50 million and change that he sold his company a couple times and all this stuff. If you know Brandon, you know what he's about. And like, I was like, yeah, no kidding, man. The most important things, the most important things. And I think the faster people get to that realization, the better off they'll be.
Yeah, and it's wild how once things such as your car, I think there's 2 reasons, well I guess there's 3 reasons to have a car. One for utility, one because you're passionate about the car, maybe you just really love fast vehicles. And then the third one, which is probably what we have in common, is you get a car so people know you're quote unquote successful, right? And I would say it was a combination of all 3 of those things for me for my Tesla. I like that was a status symbol for me. Like, hey, I wanted to get the nicest Model X. Literally, it was the nicest one money could buy. It was well into 6 figures. And looking back at it, I was like, did that serve me? I mean, I loved the car, but was that... I'm so much happier now not even having a car, and I did actually put a down payment on a Bronco. So I am going to get a Bronco, which...
Those are cool.
It's a fully decked out one for about $50K. So it's about a third of the price, and I think I'll be just as happy with that as my Tesla. And I'll probably keep it for 10 plus years. I mean, as long as this thing runs. I don't know how long Broncos are going to run, a couple years or 30 years or something in between, but I'll probably just keep it for a really long time. And if I need to eventually get another car for family purposes or whatever, great. But I just, after that became clear for me, it's just like, I'm just happier, like, that I don't need material items, or at least a car specifically, to feel special about myself. When did that start shifting for you? Because I think that's something that all men go through, especially young men.
I never really went through it as hard as most, right? So I never had a real fancy car. I had a Jeep, I had a Rodeo, I think at one point I had a Cavalier, I had an Impala, my Cherokee. I liked my Cherokee. That was pretty cool. But then I had a Tahoe, and I was like, yo, that's awesome. So for me, I think the shift for me happened more in, like, I wanted to make sure everybody knew what I was doing in business. And I still struggle with that from time to time now, mainly because I'm fucking proud of what we're doing, right? And pride is a weird thing. It can be conveyed in a lot of different ways. It can be taken in a lot of different ways. So I just, challenge people to always know how you're coming across but it's okay to be prideful. Like, I think but that was where my main shift came from, is always talking about this, I shifted out of that probably about early 30s, 32, something like that. So about 8 years ago, because I realized it's like, dude, I'd been in the real estate space a little bit as well. And it was fun. You walk into a room and everybody that looked a certain way, then you find the guys wearing the flowered shirts and sandals and, like, the haven't shaved in a few days. It's like, that's the guy to watch out for. I want to go be more like that guy. And then when I started realizing authenticity, right? Like, I'm extremely genuine. The same guys here, same guys at a ball game, same guys on stage, like, whatever that looks like. I think really when you dial in when you become completely authentic, or the closer to it that you get, that's the transition point for a lot of people. And a couple things, I think it's a lot of fear. Like, people are scared that their authentic self isn't going to be as accepted as they think it should be. Well, maybe you're trying to put that shit onto the wrong group of people, for one, right? And maybe they don't know. Maybe they're just confused. They don't know who they want to be. They know who they think they want to be because they, what was that? Somebody said something. It's like, only take advice from people who are where you're trying to go.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes.
And I don't know, it's a version of that, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, don't take advice from people that aren't where you want to be. And I mean, there's plenty of guys, and Grant Cardone, he's an example. Gary Vee's an example. Jesse Itzler, an example. I look at these kind of guys and I'm like, well, I don't want to listen to fucking his advice. I don't want to, if all things work out, I'm there. I don't want to do that, but I look at guys like Jesse Itzler, always around his kids, around his wife, working out, doing really cool things, growing big businesses, having killer experiences. Like, that's me. So I think being authentic, but also understanding your metrics, right? Like, what I want is very different than what you want. So if I'm basing my success on your version of it, we're both fucked. Find out what's important to you, and then use those drivers and be very clear and hold on to them tightly. And you'll always know if you're going in the right direction. I think that's super important. And I was fortunate to get to that point in my early 30s and really become authentic. And everybody knows, you've seen me even at masterminds and things like that. So you got to dress up. It's like, no, I do not. This is me. This is what I get. This is what you get. Like, this is me. And I'm going to be me unapologetically every single time. And that really was, I don't know, just felt real good, right? And self-inspired and confidence that builds from that. And what you'll find is that people are actually attracted to the authenticity and the confidence of you being, unapologetically yourself.
Yeah, and I agree completely. That's probably why we've always got along. I feel we're both uh, rather authentic and just share how we feel. And I've kind of felt the same way about dress. Like, don't get me wrong, there are definitely some times where I'll put on a nice outfit. Every once in a while, I feel like looking a certain way. But for the most part, I have a casual style about me. It's comfortable, especially at a 3 day event like where we met at Board of Advisors. I don't want to be in a suit for 3 days. That's uncomfortable for me. It throws me off my game. And if I'm uncomfortable, it's going to make me show up less of who I am as a person, and probably it'll negatively impact the mastermind. If I'm comfortable and happy in a more casual outfit, that's what I'm going to fucking do. And that's how I've been. So I agree completely. Um,
But everybody's unique. And I think that's the most important thing anybody can take away from
yeah.
this conversation is find out what are your metrics, know what they are with detail, and stick to them. And you become more and more authentic the more you live those, you know?
Yeah, and I just wrote down something as you were talking. Like, not everybody is gonna like your fake self either, so you might as well just be your authentic self.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah, it's just like no one's ever gonna like any version of you, or
There's
so.
a version of you that everyone will not like. Yes.
Well, even the fake surface level version is there's a lot of people that aren't gonna like it, especially self-aware people, which I'd say a lot of my friends and people like you are self-aware. You can oftentimes tell when people are being
Instant,
fake.
instantly. If you go into the right room and you got on the wrong mask, buddy, it's done. You know, people are not, they've been, half of them did the fake it till you make it until they realize how stupid they were. So they've been there, and it's even
That's
more
why we
easily
can tell,
verified.
because we used to be that person. Like, that's why it's so easy to identify, is because that used to be us, and all the
Mm.
things that they'll do. Somebody else just with said, when someone will tell you numbers before you ask, you typically divide it in half.
That
Like, and
makes
I'm like, that's true. If we just met somebody, and before I even talk about the revenues, ask, like, hey, just out of curiosity, how much revenue did you do? If they just kind of throw it out there just for the sake of building credibility or trying to show how cool they are, divided into, like, I would even argue it could be a larger division than that, but I would say that's probably a good rule of thumb. Cut it in half.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that sometimes. But what I mean, but again, the conversations I'm having are with people that know I'm not full of shit, right? So there's another that fortunately I have that on my side, and we're usually talking about numbers or business or how's business going. It's like, oh yeah, we're on track to hit X. Like, oh dude, that's awesome, and it's not because I'm trying to. Yeah, but I hear you.
I
I hear
mean,
you. Been in those conversations, man.
I would say, so maybe I can clarify after thinking it through as we're talking about it. If you have an existing relationship with a person, that's obviously separate, and it's okay to maybe just share revenues compared to, imagine if we just uh
Met at like a
at the
mix.
World Series. We're at the World Series, and we talk to this guy business, never met him before, and he's just throwing out like revenue numbers. I mean, if you're just meeting somebody and they're trying to talk about their successes at that level, they're probably full of shit. And that's what I've learned. That one half number is just something that was mentioned to me, and I think it sounds accurate. And I think there's something to that, because
Yeah.
the wealthiest people I know uh, would never just randomly talk about how much wealth they have.
Yeah.
Why would you want to be a target? Wealthy people, it's obviously a great privilege to be wealthy in this country, and it's something that wealth is a good thing, and I'm not afraid to say that. Wealth is great. It can do a lot for your family and your friends, and charities you're passionate about. You can do a lot of good with wealth. With that being said, wealth does have its inherent problems. One of those is you being a target and people wanting stuff from you. So if there's
And
uh,
invest on every deal opportunity.
yeah, I mean,
You're thinking peak.
you don't want to just rub it in everybody's face, in my opinion, all the time. At least I don't. I don't want to be defined based on how much money I have in the bank. I would rather just build an authentic relationship with a person. If there's opportunity to do business, great, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to be just throwing out revenue numbers. But anywho, What are your goals with Dugout over the next few years?
Um, it depends. I mean, are you talking about from a growth perspective, financial growth perspective, time perspective? So all of it. I mean, um, yeah, obviously I live and breathe Dugout mugs, so I have answers to all those
Yeah,
questions.
whatever you feel most inspired to share. I mean, I know how was so. Let's take a step back, and then I'd love for you to answer. How was 2020 for you guys? It was great, right? Because you had to shift and focus completely online because of instead of wholesale because the
Well,
stadiums were closed.
yeah, I mean, we lost some money. We lost seven figures for sure in sales for not having the stadiums open, but we needed all the inventory we could get anyway because we grew by like 2.5x, you know, which is crazy. In a pandemic year with no baseball and everybody's losing their job, the government's going crazy, everybody's lying to everybody about everything. People are fighting over shit they're hearing on the news that ain't even real, or a version of it. You know what I'm talking about. It's just everybody's in turmoil and division and just crazy. So you don't know what's going to happen. But we didn't pivot and go all into ecom. My background is ecom. So that's actually our sweet spot, right? So we were able to grow quite a bit on with Dugout and 2.5x. I think we ended around 8 million last year, but that's because we ran out of inventory, bro. We turned off ads like 6 weeks before Christmas, and you know what that looks like when you're humming. I mean, we could have crushed. And what's even crazier is this year we're tracking a 3x already.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we
So we got two new products coming out. I can't talk about them because I just can't. But we got two new products. All our sweet stuff. But we got some stuff coming up that I think's gonna kind of be a wild card. We'll see what happens with that. But from a growth perspective, I had a call with Home Goods today. We were on a phone call a couple of days ago with Budweiser. We made mugs already this year for Fox Sports, Fox, Tervis, Celsius, Rowdy, Mattress Firm. Like, dude, crazy companies. We just got mugs into two other countries. We're in 7 countries. Our products are being sold in 7 countries, including the U.S. But it's crazy international growth. So from a growth perspective, our visibility, our brand growth is going through the roof. These are companies that are reaching out to us, Touch of Modern, Zulily. These are millions and millions of customers that these groups have. And for us to have done what we've done on a level that we've done it and garner the respect from multi-million and billion-dollar companies, that's crazy cool. So that side of the company growing has been exciting for me as just a big thinker, and seeing these people come to me, and because we're the only show in town, they bring a deal to me and I'm like, no, that's not going to work. I don't like your terms. We need to change that. They're like, we're going to do X dollars. I'm like, you can increase that by 20% and you got a deal. Like ballsy. And that's what I love, dude. I love sales and I love negotiations. So I'm putting some really ballsy responses back, which is fun for me, right? To see what I can get and really going into these conversations the dynamic is really cool. They're very mutually beneficial, mutually respectful conversations with some of the major brands, which for me, I enjoy that. So that growth and that fulfillment is there. And then our team, because we're all North America. The Wood's Canadian, but everything else is right here in Florida. And I have a couple people, Georgia and, in the Southeast, South Carolina, our CMO's out of South Carolina. But there's like 60 people involved in our company from start to finish. So how many people are we impacting? Are we employing? How many families are we taking care of? Right. So that side of it's super cool. The hiring side. So the growth and what's fun is, and again, so this is from a personal growth standpoint, I believe you create a system you're not a component of, right? So I lead by example, and I showed people how hard to work. I'll go out and get a sale as fast as anybody in our whole company, right? but then I let them come with me and I let them watch me and I let them listen to me. And it's like, this is how we do it, right? And lead by example. And then I was like, okay, now you do it. And I step back. And then we've been doing that systematically through our whole company to the point where, I mean, there's probably only real work 5 to 10 hours a week that requires my attention, because we got good people in marketing. We got a great team doing our advertising. We got a great market or a warehouse manager and our shipping manager, and we got a social media manager, and we got a customer service manager, and they're bringing in good people. And they were, but Randall and I, very active in the day to day, led by example. So that kind of growth, that kind of internal growth and self-sufficiency, I think is probably one of the paramount things we're working on, because now the company's bigger than us, not the other way around. So I believe that you really hit a level of success when, if Randall and I vanished today, the company still runs. If the people in the company vanish today, it's done, right? And I think that's a really safe place to be, because we take very good care of our people from not as much of a financial perspective, which we do pay well, but we're always doing fun things and trying to make the experience internally better. So us growing as a company and really dialing in our mission and our mission statement and our vision statement. So there's a lot of different verticals of growth happening. All are great. And I think the money and the revenue is a side effect of doing more of the good things repetitively.
Yeah. What are your mission and vision statements, out of curiosity?
Well, they're brand new. So the mission statement is dugout mugs. It celebrates and serves the heroes of the baseball community by providing them a gift, or a unique gift that brings them closer to the game that they love. And we went with that because we have something called Cheers to Charity. Last month, it was the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. We created a custom mug for them. We sold it online. We raised money. We donated $1,000 up front. They are a hero of the baseball community, right? They're preserving some of the most important history of the game. This month, it's a guy named Jay out of Houston. His nephew, I believe, is autistic, and he couldn't play baseball with the other kids. So Jay decided, nope, I'm going to start a league for special needs kids. So he's got like 40 kids, and we donated money. It paid for the uniforms. We're doing a special thing. We sent autographed mugs. They're raising money. Just one of these things, stuff like that. So we have our Cheers to Charity initiative, and I felt like, and Randall did too, that was very in line with us celebrating and serving the heroes of the baseball community, fallen officers, military. We're big supporters of first responders and military. It's just who we are, right? And again, police and sheriff softball games, and you get the vibe, right? And then we create one-of-a-kind gifts is really what it comes down to. When people think of high-end baseball premium gifts, they think of us, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah. And I actually never really connected the two till just now, but we're both in a premium collectible space.
Mm-hmm.
Our average customer, you probably have a slightly higher AOV, but our average customer spends about $80. Is yours around the 100 range?
No, we're about similar to that.
Okay. Well, then that's
depends on the promotion.
We should probably chat about maybe we'll get a real ROI on this. We should chat about promoting some more of your stuff to our list, because I think we have a very similar buyer profile. You mentioned something too about people buying these products during all the turmoil of 2020. I'm curious your thoughts on this subject. I believe sports, super far left, super far right, everything in between, a lot of people can really bond on sports. I think if someone's next to you, if I'm at a Braves game and someone's next to me and the Braves, hit a walk-off home run, never in a million years is a thought going to cross my mind about anything other than the Braves just won this game and I'm going to high five and hug this person next to me. And there's sports has that special ability to just bring people of different backgrounds and different belief systems. So Dugout, you could argue is bringing Americans together.
That's what we do, man.
Yeah.
One beer at a time.
What are your thoughts on sports involvement and bringing people together? And do you think we're going to be happier as society once, stadiums are allowed to have a full stadium of fans, which I'm hoping is in by summertime.
I think sports as a whole definitely transcends a lot, and it is a great way to bring people together. But my personal opinion is I don't think that everything starts to get better and start healing until people realize that we have more in common than we have different, right? I think that's a big deal. And I don't think sports is strong enough for that. I think that's a lot of people pulling their head out of their ass and stop listening to these talking boxes and letting other people's opinions become theirs. When they stop and actually start to think, we'll see what happens when a bunch of free thinkers start to free think, right? But I do think sports brings people together. I think with all the COVID protocols and things that are in place, it's a frustrating. I even talked to Randall yesterday. He's been to a couple spring training games, and he's like, dude, it's just weird, right? So even when you do get to go to the game, it's not the same experience. I've talked to a few of the teams as well. Obviously, I talk with them often, and they were giving me some hope that there's a few of the stadiums that are going to be 50%. Maybe they start creeping up a little higher after All-Star break. So maybe we're going to have some really, really cool baseball action come playoffs. But yeah, I think it's going to be one more weird year before it really gets back to normal. I think just people being precautious.
Well, we're in Florida, Kris. We've been back to normal since summer of 2020.
Man, we didn't leave too far normal, and my life really didn't change at all. And I know that's not the same for a lot of people, and I know people who lost people to COVID. I mean, it's not fake by any stretch. But yeah, I was kind of fortunate in the respect. I work from home. I'm an e-commerce guy working from home, running a company. I don't go anywhere anyway, and when I do, I'm not sneezing on people and licking doorknobs. I mean, what the hell? I'm not really at risk. And I don't like people around me anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, the internet marketing community, I think, lockdown hit everybody differently, and obviously, like I personally didn't lose somebody really close, but I know a few people that got really sick, and I have a couple people that were close to me that they lost people close to them. It was tricky, but the thing that I still don't understand, and not to make this political conversation, but we knew who it was affecting. We knew ways that it could help people. People got sunlight. If people started eating a little healthier, getting we could have done our very best, work together, to protect the vulnerable people, and the rest of us, pretty much everybody in my building downtown Orlando, as far as I know, has got COVID or has been exposed to it. It's the average age in my building is probably 25 to 45. Most people were little to no symptoms. A couple got kind of, more sick on the serious side, but I just I'm grateful that, again, we in Florida, we all work from home, right? And you have a wife and kids. Lockdowns were extremely difficult on single people. And again, I just couldn't imagine not being able to socialize. I work from home. I don't have a lot of human interaction except when I'm meeting up with friends and stuff. In-person human interaction. Obviously, I'm on phone calls and video shit all day, obviously, similar to you, I'm sure, but it's not the same, and I just kind of like to check out from business. So, again, of course, we want to protect people where we can, but I don't think it's wise. I've learned this years ago, and therapy has taught me this. Everybody's problems in their own head are big problems. So it's hard to convince people that their problem, to the high schooler that missed prom because of COVID, that may be the biggest catastrophic event that's happened to them in their life. And maybe they could use a little perspective on that. Maybe they're not. But, everybody had big things taken away from them. And I am just hopeful that we can get back to normal. I mean, I hate the new normal shit. I think it's a little bit of bacteria and immune system building is healthy. I think we should go back to hugging people and being social and handshaking as soon as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a little different perspective because I had different experiences, right? And I think, well, I mean, I should have died with what I went through. So I'm a big faith over fear guy. And I mean, when something that should kill, I should not have made it a couple of times, to be quite honest with you. And I'm here. So I believe that, again, it goes back to these things you think you can control. I don't think you can control. I mean, I have friends, this one girl, even with one of the baseball teams I talk with, fairly healthy, just stroking an aneurysm, like bam, bam, you go to bed, you just might not wake up. And I think, like, no matter what, if you do everything right and make every proper decision, you still ain't making it out of here. So when you don't even know how much time you got left, to just shelve some of it in case of something, like, I don't know. I believe that when it's your time, it's your time. And I believe that because it should have been my time a couple times and it wasn't. Now, am I fortunate? Yeah. Am I grateful? Unbelievably. But it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be scared of an unknown necessarily. I'm precautionary, but that's just me anyway. I've been washing my hands since before it was cool. But I don't know.
I actually agree with that completely. I mean, I have grandparents in their 80s, and it's just like, how the heck long do they have left anyway? Like, are we going to just, like, I'm just not going to see my grandparents for a year? I mean, how many people? So, a lot of people, and I know COVID is serious, especially for a specific group of people, 70 plus or 50 plus with underlying conditions. Primarily, diabetes and obesity are those underlying conditions. Bill Maher just did a whole thing on it. That's what we call underlying conditions because the U.S. government doesn't want to fat shame people, but it's actually obesity and diabetes is what is leading to a lot of serious symptoms and death. But it's just like how there's certain people that they're COVID related deaths, so it's out of the 500,000 deaths, which is a lot of people dead. Mm-hmm. It's COVID related. A lot of them had serious underlying conditions. But I wonder how many people in the last year, older people, are mentally very unhealthy because they've been alone. They've died just because of loneliness or old age. I mean, what's that number? How many people didn't get to see their grandparents again because they were just trying to be safe from the virus? Like that, I'd like to know what that number is, but I'm sure it's tens of thousands of people.
It's not going to be, it'll never be shared because it all gets just chalked up, I mean, you know how it is. It's a game. It's a sad game that a lot of the powerful people are playing, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I have people in my family that would consider, be considered underlying conditions, and I did not see them. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
I'm not taking a chance of again, like, we are, but again, I also am a little bit different. I don't really leave my house. I go hunting and fishing and, shooting clays and stuff like that, just dicking off. But for me, it's like mainly here at the house with the kids, stuff like that. So I'm not really exposed to much. My wife's really good at Instacart and all this other stuff. But yeah.
Well, and one final thing on this, and I have a final question I want to ask you.
Sure.
So there were much less reported new instances of many different types of cancer and all that, and it's not because this cancer and these diseases are getting less rare. I mean, there's just tons of studies that show the older community was just scared to go to the doctors and get the regular checkups that would catch certain diseases and certain illnesses early. So there's like also that byproduct of, we're normally used to diagnosing X number of people a year for certain diseases. So many of those were lower than the average annual number, not because just randomly 2020 people are just like experiencing miracle amounts of like health levels. It's because they were scared to go to the doctors and get diagnosed. So it's like there's all these byproducts of just, I think the media did an amazing job of just scaring the shit out of so many people. I think we could have looked at the facts and be like, hey, we knew very on, you're 70 plus, let's protect you like crazy, let's work together, let's do food delivery. You're 50 plus and these symptoms, you should probably be pretty careful. The rest of you, like, work to protect these people. Don't scare the shit out of people, which is what happened. I mean, now it's like, schools still aren't even open, which the data doesn't support that at all. Makes no fucking sense. And yeah, it's wild to me. But anyway, enough on that. That's probably my first COVID rant in a couple months. So thanks, Kris. Thanks for giving me the space to rant on that.
Well, all I say is be authentic. That's not everybody's reality. It's mine. Mine is I'm faith over fear. I'm not a fool. I'm not going to go out and try to prove that I can't get sick. That's stupid. But I'm going to do me.
Yeah.
I'm going to do us, and I'm not going to tell somebody else they can't do them.
Totally. And that's been if you want to be super cautious, if you want to do these things, and most cases aren't spread in public. I mean, tons of data supports that 4 out of 5 cases are spread in the household. I mean, if we're walking around, like at the World Series, like we're not getting in people's faces. With or without socially distancing, we'll get a little bit tight at certain points, but even so, we're not breathing in people's faces. We're not sharing bathrooms. We're not laying on the couch next to them.
Yeah.
So, public places, just, bars and clubs and, maybe sporting events, I get just because you're tightly packed, but, diseases like this seem to be spread in the household anyway. So I think if we're just out in public, and it probably just a good rule of thumb that I support, and maybe there's one big positive of this whole fiasco, is this stupid American ideology that I just need to work through and grind through and I don't need to take time off. If you're not feeling good, just stay home. Just stay home. Not only is that better for you and your own health, you're not going to spread it to people. If you have symptoms, if you're not feeling good, stay home, right? And I think...
But there's also other diseases. There's other things. You can have the flu. You can have a cold.
Pneumonia.
You can just be gross, right? Like there's a lot of other things going on. It's not a black or white situation. So yeah, if you're not feeling good, stay the hell away from everybody.
If you're not feeling good, rest for yourself. It'll be better for you and it'll be better for other people. You don't need to impress anybody. I think if there's one big positive takeaway is we're going to be much more understanding for, hey, worker, you're not feeling good, stay home. Totally okay. Don't need to come into work. Get rest and don't spread whatever you have to the rest of the team. So I think that's so final question I have for you. What's this year? 2021? 2025. What's your life going to look like, Kris? Are you still going to be an owner of Dugout Mugs?
No. I think we have the trajectory, we have the stats, we have the data, we have the systems, we have the IP. Somebody's going to come in and make an offer that's going to be really hard to refuse. I might still be involved. I don't know. We'll see. But we're having a lot of fun. We're growing like crazy. The experiential side of it is awesome. I get to play with my friends. I'm hitting all my marks right now. In 5 years or 4 years, I'm going to have a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old. So I don't even know how much energy that's going to take. So chances are I'll be spending a lot more time with them than I even already do now. probably doing some of the fun stuff I had always imagined I would doing, taking an RV for a few months and through the summer and just driving the kids all over the place and goofing off. Probably be invested in about 5 to 10 different ventures that I believe in, I can benefit. And from a work perspective, probably doing some consulting. That's always been something I enjoyed. Not like fractional CMO, CEO, anything like that, but just basic consulting, seeing people that deserve that shot and could really, they need someone to step in, be a sounding board, take their revenue from where it is to where it's going, and that's what I've always done with Dehnert Media anyway, is short-term consulting. So I'll probably be doing a little bit of that because I just love entrepreneurs and I love the entrepreneurial spirit and I love the weird. This is weird, bro. Like, who takes a bat, half a bat, drills it out and turns it into a multi-million-dollar company? Like, that's some cool shit, and I like being a part of that because I wonder if I have it. I know I have it. It was sitting over here somewhere. It's got covered up because I was cleaning up here, but I wrote something like 12, 13 years ago. And it was like a vision statement for myself. And it's when it's all said and done, I'm going to be judged not by my success, but by the success of the people that I've helped, is without getting verbatim, is the gist of it. And I really, that's a big fulfillment part. And I know already that there's a couple dozen people that I think when they look back, they're going to say that pivot point in my life, that dude was a part of it. He was the catalyst, right? And I think that's a fulfillment thing for me. So I could certainly see in 4 years me doing more of that, from the startups and the bootstraps and those kind of fun things. So that's probably what it looks like.
Totally. And this seems like a kind of business that, maybe you guys sell 80 or 90% of it, retain a little bit of equity just so you can be involved as an advisor or chairman position or whatever. And you're not in the day-to-day, but you cash out, but you're still getting to do the fun things that you love. Carve out a role where you're going to events and going to games and doing some high-level networking and stuff. But outside of that, you're cashed out and good.
Well, I believe your network's your net worth, right? And I'm blessed to have a really good network. I don't leverage them unnecessarily. I don't exploit them, things like that. So, and one of my favorite quotes, it's not about who you know, it's who knows you. I love that, right? So it forces me to be memorable, to be genuine, authentic. I love that. And I think everybody in my network knows me. So I think even after Dugout, I'm still going to have that. Whether it's a new venture or whether it's, just spending time and traveling and knowing people every which place. I can do a stadium tour if I want to, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that's going to be a big piece. Spending a little more time, because I'm telling you the one thing, time is the only asset that matters. Anybody that thinks otherwise has not been hit in the face with that yet. But time can be taken away from you instantly in a multitude different ways. So to not enjoy it now, it's selling yourself short. Like, you're missing out, right? So I'm going to do a lot of enjoying myself and my family and my children when they're young. Sure, there'll be deals going on and money that I could have made, but Jason Medley mentioned one time to me, he's like, dude, it's not what you make, it's what you got to give up to make it. And oftentimes, if you're looking through a clear lens, that's more valuable. So,
well, that's a good way to end it, man. Enjoyed catching up, enjoyed the convo, and I hope to see you soon.
You bet, brother.
Thank you for listening to Openly Outspoken with Jeremy Adams. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player so you get updated when new episodes are live. If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to support is to leave a 5-star review and share the podcast with people in your life that you feel would benefit from these types of discussions. Visit openlyoutspoken.com for additional details on the show. Find out how to connect with Jeremy on social media and learn more information about Jeremy's personal and business life. We'll see you next time.